All right, hi. We are Gone with the Fire. We created a IoT system that can detect wildfires in remote areas using cool technologies like LoRa. And we also built a full stack website that's hosted on Azure. And so I'm Nate, and I'm joined by Adrian and Garrett. And so this is our high level diagram architecture of our project. Since we're an IoT project, we have all our IoT stuff here on the left. So we have our microcontrollers, which we used, which were ESP32s, and that was all written in C++. And on the right, we have our website, our web stack, and that was written all in TypeScript and deployed on Azure.
So for some of the hardware, we have a DHT11, which measures the temperature and humidity. Then we have an MQ2 gas sensor. Then we also have our GPS module. So these are the three main sensors that we're actually gathering data from and then transmitting to this receiver. We also have the solar panel, which then uses the charge controller to regulate the amount of charge that will charge the 18650 lithium-ion battery. And then with this LoRa module, we'll send packets of data that transmits from the ESP32 to this receiver here, which is also an ESP32. Here is actually some data that we're transmitting, or actually receiving in this case, where we have temperature, humidity, latitude, longitude from GPS, smoke data, and we are then posting it to the server using JSON and protocol HTTP. Here is the actual box. This would be out in the deep forest, since with LoRa we're capable of actually sending a lot of data several kilometers away. Here are some of the data also that we're graphing that we'll show you with the website.
So these are the graphs that we are building using React library. And so we have latitude, longitude, and at the bottom we have the smoke, which basically is usually 0 unless it detects smoke, and then it'll shoot up to 1. And so some of this data is kind of acting weird lately, so we have screenshots of it acting normal. But here's also the backend, which we have documented using Swagger. And so yeah, that's kind of the demo.
Also, here's a video of some of the sensors being used. There's also the smoke itself.
Yeah.
The sensor working.
Yeah, so in the slides we showed earlier, you can actually see when the smoke was picked up. It's that bottom left graph here. So it was like 0, and then it spiked up when we lit the paper towel on fire. But yeah, so I think we can continue that. And so some of the difficulties we encountered, we're setting up CI/CD pipelines using GitHub Actions. We wanted to do CI/CD with Azure because it just would have made our lives easier. We had a lot of trouble with it. We failed to do it for both the backend and the front end, so we ended up just deploying them using virtual machines, and we had just basically like signed in every time and updated every time we made a change. And so that was pretty easy to do. Initially, we had a really small VM. It was too small for deploying both of them, so we had to upgrade it to a larger VM. And then we also had a Azure SQL database. And so originally we were using the Azure database, and we weren't familiar with the Azure language. So we later switched over to using the Azure database for MySQL, and that kind of saved us a lot of time in the end. And so these are just a screenshot of us using different services, because we had never done it before, and I just wanted to show that, like, we actually were trying. We just failed. And so this is just kind of like proof that we had made some attempts at that.
Some of the IoT difficulties were some issues with the sensors, especially the GPS module. Since we needed a satellite lock, it was easier to then go outside and get some of that data. Otherwise, there was the parsing for the LoRa packets, since they are sent in by strings, so we needed to parse them. And then some difficulties with platform I/O. All right.